Hi, this is Tara with Tara's Tips, terrific ink, paper, and stamps. And today I want to show you an Easter card I made using the stamp set Sentimental Swirls and Easter Friends. It's a bridge fold card, and that's what it looks like. So we're going to get started on that. I hope you enjoy it. And this is the back here. All right, let's get started. Okay, so here is a better picture of the card. And I've got the swirls on both sides, on the inside as well. And then this is the back that I've done. And it uses the stamp set Easter Friends, which I've got this combined with some other stamps, so it's smaller. But I use the duck and the chick and the grass and the Easter messages in there for that. And it also uses the stamp set Sentimental Swirls, which I think is a really nice stamp set because, well, quite frankly, I love swirls, so this is a great set for me. I knew I liked that one right away, and I wanted to have it when I saw it in the catalog. So first we're starting with a piece of cardstock. This is Flirty Flamingo. It is 8 by 4 1/4, and we are gonna score it here. This one I have the score lines in, but just to show you, I score it at 1 1/4, and then I like to flip mine over so my score lines are going the right way, and that would be at 2 1/2. And you could keep going at 5 1/2 and 6 3/4, but I like to flip this back over and do my 2 1/2 line, and then flip it back over and do my 1 1/4. And that just makes my score lines be where they need to for the card. Okay, and we're coming back in with a piece of very vanilla cardstock and our swirl stamp. And I am just going to ink that up. And if you were doing just one card, you wouldn't want to do a whole 8 1/2 by 11 piece. But since I'm doing multiple cards, I had done this for a card swap. And then this is going to be my Easter cards as well. So I'm going to do a whole sheet of the 8 1/2 by 11. And it's easier sometimes if you put your pad upside down or your stamp upside down and ink it that way. And I find once I do get the whole page done and cut them apart, there's still some places here and there where I like to add in a little bit of swirls and flowers, so each piece has enough flowers and swirls on it. But sometimes it's hard to know if you've got enough until you start cutting it apart. And I just like to twist and turn it as I go, so they're not all the same direction. I'm going to come in with a piece of scrap paper and go off the page a little bit here. Okay, so I'm coming back in here with my Flirty Flamingo, and I'm going to put little flowers on all the little edges here. Okay, and I don't know if you noticed, but I was inking up in the corner of my ink pad. That spot on my ink pad tends to have darker ink. So then when I go back in to do the filler flower, I go into the center of my ink pad, which has less ink, and stamp. Oh, I didn't get that one very good. Okay, and they're not all perfect. It's hard to see with the camera in the way. I can't get my head under as good as what I'd like to. So I'm going to pull in my trimmer. And the pieces, we need 4 1 inch by 4 inches. So I am going to cut 4 inches off. I'm going to cut over here. And then I'm just going to cut, I'm sorry, I'm not in the camera. I cut off a 4-inch section, and then I'm just going to turn this and go to my 1. And I want 4 of those. And I'll set this aside for another card. And then I also want a 5 1/4 by 1 inch. So I am going to go here to 5 1/4. By 1. Okay, and I'll set those aside for more cards. Okay, so I'm going to pull my scrap back in. I like how that one is. I think that's pretty good. This one I think needs a little bit more green. So I'm going to come back in with my Mossy Meadow. And then back in with my flowers. Put one here. That one I think is pretty good. I want just a little bit more green. I think that's good. That one I think is good, and this one could use a little bit more. So there we go. So my swirls and stuff are not going to all match up 100% because I added some extra ones, but that's okay. In the grand scheme of the card, I think it's fine. So we're going to bring this back in, and those will get glued. And when I'm looking at this, I also remember that I'm going to be putting my bridge along the bottom of the card. So if I'm covering up, I might cover up a flower, so sometimes I flip the flowers so they're up near the top depending on where everything is. But those work for me. And a lot of times it's easier to glue before you folded your card and have to mess, deal with your card not wanting to lay flat on you because you folded it. So I try to glue on my pieces lots of times before I folded my card, as long as you know where they're going. Okay, and this is going to go on a 1 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch strip for our bridge piece. And I'm not going to glue it onto the card just quite yet. Okay, and I've brought in my mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Right now you can get this for 20% off during the month of March. So it's a great deal. I took advantage of it and ordered it on the 1st. We're going to use our plate 1 and our plate 4 because we're going to use the stripes and splatters. This is the splatters embossing folder. So my pool party piece of cardstock is 2 3/4 by 4 inches, and I'm just going to place that in there how I like it. And then it's going to go in between the two pieces here. And there you go. And that's the back. I kept saying I wasn't going to get the mini machine because if you have the big one, hey, who needs the little one? Because the big one does everything that the little one can do plus more. But I decided that it would be nice because a lot of times I don't have a craft room. So when I'm doing things on my kitchen table gets kind of full. And I thought if I could have the mini machine on there instead of the big machine, that would take up less space. And I thought when I go to workshops that would be nice too, because then I can I don't have as much to carry. Okay, so we're going to bring our Stamparatus in and stamp the back side piece. And we're going to stamp the little chick. And I've got that lined up to just stamp down in the corner. And we're going to ink that up with our Tuxedo Memento pad. So now if I'm doing 50 of these cards, I know that my little chick is always going to be in the right spot for me. And I'm going to take this plate off. And I've got this one, and this is going to go on this side. If it doesn't make sense, don't just stamp it. Check it out and see what you're doing. You know, make sure you've got it going the right way before you just randomly stamp and not checking yourself. Oh, and I didn't get the edges there, so I'm just going to go back down and push a little harder. And there we go. And I'm going to come in with my grass stamp. And a piece of scrap. Okay. Now we're going to color the chicken. And I am going to use the light pumpkin pie Stampin' Blend, and then the dark and the light So Saffron. So I'm just first coloring the chick with the light. And sometimes when I color this, I do it different. Sometimes I always do the dark first in my dark spots, and then I go over it with the light. But when I was coloring this chick, I decided that when I colored it with the light, a lot of times, then as I went over it with the dark, it still just kind of blended in where I wanted it to, so. And if you wanted to go back and blend that in again with the light, you could, but I actually liked how it was, you know, without going back over, but that works too. And then I'm going in with the light pumpkin pie. And I'm not worrying about darks and lights on the feet and the beak because there's not really much there. So that is the back of our card. So we're gonna glue, I think these look like raindrop splatters, like water splatters. So I just thought it was good to have this with the duck. I thought it worked out well. And then on the back, we're gonna glue this piece. And you can see I already stamped it on the back, but I wanted to show you stamping it, so I flipped it over. Okay, and to fold this, we're just folding it in and then out, and then in and then out. And when we're gonna glue our bridge piece on, we're gonna leave this side folded shut and this side open. And then I just decide where I want, what I want to be my top and what I want to be my bottom. I think that'll be fine. And I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on. And you want to make sure you don't glue the whole back of your bridge part, because only here and here is where it's going to be glued and where you want it staying against that. So then when you come over, so there's your main bridge bit. And we're going to come in and we're going to stamp our duck. And here's our cute little duck. Reminds me of Ming Ming off of Wonder Pets. If any of you had kids that ever watched Wonder Pets, you'll know who Ming Ming is. My kids didn't watch it a lot, but some, and I just always thought she was cute. Okay, and we're taking the light and the dark Daffodil Delight. And I will not claim to be an artist. There's a lot of others that can do the blends way better than I can. But the one thing I like about the blends is I don't think that you have to be an artist to make it look good. Like, I think if you have some light and some dark and some shading, you know, of the light and dark, it looks like you know what you're doing, even if, you know, maybe if a true artist saw it, they would think, you know, oh, you've got your shadows all wrong. But for most of us that aren't, you know, true artists, even though we're artists with our cards and our creativity, I think that the blends make everything look like we are true artists. And I'm going to come back in with my light and kind of blend that a little bit. And then we'll go in with our pumpkin pie. I'm just doing the dark here. A little bit on the beak. And then going back in with the light. And when you use your blends, you just want the finest touch. And my end is drying out a little bit. Might need a new one. You don't want to press hard and ruin your tips. So this is our cute fun duck, and then we're just gonna fussy cut him out. So we've got this one, and we're gonna stick him or her right there. So I will get out my glue, kind of hold where I don't want glue. And you don't need a ton. And I just like to kind of look over the back to make sure I don't need to slide it over a little bit to have more of the glue. I don't want the glue sticking off the edge back there. Okay, and for our Happy Easter, we are going to pull in our punch here. And I can't remember what the name of this punch is. I will put it there in the video. This is 3/4 by 3 1/4. And what I did to figure out how long I wanted it is I've cut off edges of these. I stuck a 3/4 inch in the punch and cut them off, and I glued them or taped them onto the edges of what this is a piece of plastic off one of like the plastic that the dies come in, the envelopes that the dies come in. I cut this to 3/4, 1/2 inch, and 1 inch on all mine, so I can see if I'm just doing one. If I stamp it first, then I can see where I want, you know, my edges to be. It really helps when you're just doing one single one. I don't know if that makes sense to you or not, but I'm probably not the greatest explainer of that. But then you know, with these, if you stick it on the edge of the plastic, you know how much you lose when you're cutting each one. So I am going to pull my Stamparatus back in. And I've got my Happy Easter. And I just need to figure out which way I had it set up. Okay, so there we go. It was that way. So what I am doing is I've stamped the Happy Easter on my plastic sheet, and I am coming under it and lining it up. And that's a little hard to see because I made these cards for the swap quite a few weeks ago, and my green is not as dark. So I'm going to come down and stamp it again on that plastic so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so that looks a little better. And I actually think I'll move it a little bit. Okay, I like where that is. So I'm just going to pull that away. I don't have a lot of room for my magnet, so I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to hope I don't mess anything up when I do it. Okay, and I think that looks good. So there's my little sentiment there. And I'm pulling my card back in and just gluing my sentiment on. And see, once you get that on, there's not a lot of flowers or greenery on the bottom that you see anyway, but that is my Easter card. I hope you guys like it. Let me know if you do. If you have any questions, let me know. I talked briefly at the beginning about the sale that's going on in March. It's the Savings Are in Bloom. You can get 20% off on select bundles that fit in the mini stamp and cut and emboss machine, and you can get 20% off on the mini machine itself. So instead of being $60, it's $48 right now during the month of March. There's this bundle here, and then on the back we've got all these different bundles. So if you've been looking at one of those bundles, now's the time to get it because you can save 20%. And I will have a link in the description below that you can click on the all to see what all is on sale. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Check out the description below with all the supplies that I used. Like I said, if you have any questions, ask. And if you like this video, if you can hit the like button, if you haven't subscribed, if you want to subscribe. The notification button on the top right, the little bell, if you click on that and go to settings, you can click the button to get notifications to all the channels that you're subscribed to when they put a new video on. So if you want to know when I do a new video, you can click on that button. So until next time.